Welcome to Cinema, where we focus on the film. I'm Josh, this is Simply Cinema. Today we're going to be doing the Blu-ray haul for November 2024. I got quite a few items, as it sort of felt like a little bit of a splurging month. I didn't do too much for specific Black Friday deals online, and of course in store was very much a miss. But I got quite a few items, including some personal ones. I went out to my uncle's and a family reunion in the beginning of the month, which always entails going to this town with a disc replay. I always love that story. And of course, we got a few other online items, some from Groove, some from Amazon. First off, we'll start with this big item. We got the Only Murders in the Building game. This came out about the first week of the month, and so I of course love the show, and either way I had to buy it and figure out maybe I'll redesign the set for 2025, be able to fit this game in. But having went to the reunion for a game weekend, since they're big board game players, I played this once and it was pretty good for the nature of what this game is all going about. I might have to look over it. If you would like to see me review it, let me know that down in the comments below. And before we get into the Blu-rays, we'll go into the personal items, which isn't necessarily specific a lot things to show, but it is extra special because from my uncle, he found some film reels that my grandpa would have worked on or had filmed himself, and so I can't really show all of them specifically, or we don't know what's on them, and so I'm going to be figuring out how to get an 8mm projector, because we got whichever ones of these are, if you have information on them or these type of things, what are good film projectors for them. But because we believe they were all 8mm, so we got these different film canisters, and some of them were dated around 1964, so it's just extra special getting to see these. I'll definitely incorporate them as part of my background, including the fact that I'm going to be trying to figure out the right place to actually figure out what's on them, be able to watch whatever he filmed. And so this is just extra special. I never met my grandpa. He passed a year after I was born. So there's just this different sort of connection. I don't have any relationship with him specifically, but just the fact that 20 years later, I became a movie lover and eventually was able to grow into this movie community, that at 25 years old, I'm finding some of his old film reels, and there's just different ones like that, different sizes, multiple reels in some of them. And so I believe all of the actual film reels themselves are safe and hopefully able to play. Hopefully none of them are damaged, but that's just the general gist of what's all going on with that. There's nothing specific to show besides that each of them contain the film reels themselves that were filmed back then or he worked on. But we're gonna go into the modern technology now, into the Blu-rays that I picked up, mostly disc replay. But we'll start off with some of the Groove.com. First off, there was like a 3 for $24, I believe it was, on some of these. And so first off, we got The Holdovers. I just enjoyed this movie a lot from last year. It's on my Christmas 25 on 25 movie community challenge, where I'm going to be ranking 25 of the more iconic, most talked about Christmas movies, ranging from different genres, different years. So I, of course, wanted to add Holdovers to the collection. Lolita, this was one of the final ones that I still have to finish up collecting. Stanley Kubrick's collection, one of my favorite all-time directors. So this one was a rather good one. A first-time watch this year that I was rather surprised I was connected with. It was about this older man getting in this relationship with this teenager, and so it's a very controversial film for its time, but it's based on a book of the same name, I believe, but it did surprisingly have some interesting moments for connecting with me. I'll definitely be able to finish his filmography soon, hopefully be able to rank it for you guys, and maybe at the beginning of the year or sometime at the end of this year, depending on what I get around to. Next up, we got The Color Purple. I was just looking for a third item, and Steven Spielberg stuck out to me. I have watched this one. It's been a couple years, but I do remember loving it back when or just last year, the remake came out, and so I did like that one as much. But this one was still surprising for its time and just as important for the nature of what it's dealing with racism. But it's just a nice musical just as well. So I just always enjoyed a good genre, even if it's not always as rewatchable. And of course, I'm wanting to collect basically all of Steven Spielberg's works. Next up, we got 4 items from the library. They had a library sale just before I went to my uncle's, and so I normally go on the Sack Day sale where it's $3 for a bag of items, but of course that's the last day where items would be picked over, so I ended up getting to go the first day. And maybe I should do that more often because it's still $1 per DVD, per Blu-ray, and I'm more particular about what I pick out. And they had Blu-rays, surprisingly, which they had The Last Exorcism. I haven't heard much about this. It's from 2010. It has Eli Roth as a producer, but I haven't heard the best things, but I also haven't heard much about this at all, so it'll just be another horror film to add to the collection. And of course, it was Blu-ray. Next up, we got 2012. I remember watching this, or parts of this, back around the year it was released, but I wasn't serious about watching films, and it was just at a New Year's party, so I didn't watch the whole thing. So maybe I'll be able to watch this soon, just adding to that director's filmography. Next up, we got American Assassin. I've heard it's underrated. I haven't seen it, but it was definitely an interesting and pretty good find. I've been liking Michael Keaton as of recently, with Goodrich having been a big surprise from this year. Next up, and final from the library haul, before we go on to the big blue disc replay haul, we got The Burbs. And I was surprised to find this there. I mean, you can find anything because it's whatever people donate or whatever the library's giving up. Obviously, this was what was donated, and I've just been thinking of picking up this for a while. I haven't seen it with Tom Hanks, and now I finally own it. I won't have to look and go through my choices at the library and skip over it every time. Now I have it for whenever I do get around to watching it. Let me know if there's any suggestions that you think I should see as soon as possible from what I picked up, if I mention I haven't seen it. Or if you want to see any particular content on the directors or actors, because I'll be figuring out how to rearrange my content this coming year to go about what you guys sort of like. But then we got about 14 Blu-rays, I believe it was, from the disc replay, and so we're gonna go right into it with Room from A24. This was $3.99, a nice slipcover. I'm not always particular about getting slipcover, but when they have a nice one, I'll go for it. Room was a good one. It's been a couple years, but I of course want to collect more A24 just as well. Black Adam to add to the DCEU collection. Now, I love the Justice Society within their characters and everything that goes about it, but I'm not a fan of the story and what you're getting out of Black Adam. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson just does not have the performance that feels energetic or fun to the nature of his character. So, yes, I'm going to add this collection because I'm going to rewatch it every once in a while, even though there's not a DCEU to rank anymore. But this is one that I'm just very mixed on, more on a negative side. But Pierce Brosnan especially is one of my favorite characters, what he's performing as Dr. Fate. But unfortunately, it just happened to land some of the right characters in the wrong type of story that I'm not connected to. Next up, we got Predators. I've seen the first one a few years ago, need to rewatch it and finish up. We got the first 3 Predator movies. I have the 2018 reboot on DVD, and I've seen Prey before. That one's really good as well, but I do need to get through the Predator franchise before I rank it and coincide it with an Alien ranking, since I ranked that recently. And next up, I was surprised to find this just as well. Someone gave a lot of their collection to Disc Replay just before I went in there, and they had the Before trilogy on Criterion Blu-ray, one I've been wanting for a while, and it was down to $30. There was other Criterions, some were half off that I could have got brand new from Barnes & Noble this month anyways, but for the $30 Before trilogy, that was definitely a must. Yes, it's on Blu-ray. I have another Criterion coming up soon that was cheaper than the original price, but I'm just surprised they managed to pull that one out of their collection. Next up, we have Mother. Now, this is a wild one, and it's very psychological thriller-esque, but very good nonetheless. Darren Aronofsky, one of my favorite directors just as well. Haven't watched all of his films. I believe I've seen 4, including The Black Swan and Requiem for a Dream. Really love his visuals, but for $3.99, hard to pass up for one with a nice slipcover just as well, that I've also been meaning to get up for a while. And another Criterion for $9.99, we got Paris, Texas. A great movie. It's been a year or so, but just potent with what it's doing with the drama from Wim Wenders. So I just really enjoy what his directing work, and I need to see more of that director just as well. And next up, we'll go a little bit quicker, maybe just to go through these. We got The Polar Express, one of my favorite Christmas movies, because I have fond memories, this being one of the first movies I remember watching back in kindergarten. I don't have many movie memories for when I was young because I didn't rewatch films quite as frequently. And so this one, I just had to finally pick up for myself, be able to own it to a collection for $3.99. Next up, we have Horizon the American Saga, Chapter 1. Now, I didn't know, of course, that this would have Black Friday deals for the same price, but this still should be good condition for $10. I did really enjoy this one, the epic scope this had. There were some problems about the pacing, certain other things where Kevin Costner doesn't show up for the first hour, but I'm in full support of what his project is to bring. I'm really hoping the next 3 parts will come out to theaters sometime relatively soon. But next up, we got The Aviator, a great one from Martin Scorsese for $3.99. Just one of my favorites from his filmography, and I hadn't had this one. It's a Wonderful Life. I've had mixed reactions on it, just watching now and then, so hopefully this is part of my Christmas 25 on 25 community challenge, so I'll be able to give it another watch, see how it holds up this time around. Next up, we have Santa Claus 3. Now, they only had this one, but this was the only one of the trilogy that I had left to pick up because I got the first 2 last year at a Walmart clearance, but they didn't have the 3rd disc then, but I got it now, so that collection is complete, even though the 3rd might be not as good as those, but I'll have a ranking hopefully fairly soon for December. Next up, we got another Steven Spielberg, Ready Player One, with a nice slipcover. I was kind of mixed on it. I was relatively positive. Just a lot of nice pop culture Easter eggs just combined into one based on a book. I haven't read it, but hopefully I'll be able to explore a lot more of Steven Spielberg's filmography soon, whether I rank it at the end or beginning of next year, or if I wait until Steven Spielberg's new film in May 2026, but I'll try and catch up. Having seen basically all his filmography, I'll be about ready to watch through his filmography again, fairly close together, so I can give my fresher ranking on all of his movies. And we got another Disney collection to the movie collection that I relatively try and find an obscure or just another Disney or Pixar movie time and time. Each time I go to Disc Replay, and this time it's Pocahontas 1 and 2, so that was a nice one with a great slipcover just as well. That, of course, I don't always mind it if it doesn't have the slipcover, but might as well go for the slipcovers to have a little bit something nicer for the collection. And last but not least, we got the Peanut Butter Falcon, one I enjoy just as well. It's been a couple years again from having seen it, but it's a deep dramatic drama, so I do want to explore this once in a while. So now I got those all added to the collection. I believe that was just over 20 Blu-rays, which should, as I'm dropping everything now, the pile fell over, that I'll clean up afterwards, but it should just about fill some of my Blu-ray shelves that I have back behind me, and I'll be taking a little bit of a break from buying too many. That's why I wanted to go on a little bit of a splurge, because I'm wanting to pay off some of my student loans a little bit quicker leading into next year, which I'm not too far behind. I'm only a few thousand left, so hopefully I can complete that left and be able to figure out if I want to move, if I want to reorganize and reconfigure what my backdrop look like. But either way, let me know down in the comments below what items you picked up last month for November 2024, any Blu-rays, and any details you want to give me on these film reels that I got. What are your favorite items that I picked up? Any recommendations you think I should watch or include as content for the channel? So that's just all. Make sure to like this video if you enjoy it. Subscribe if you haven't already to join in the film culture community where we talk about the love of cinema as a whole. So that's just all, and make sure to do yourself a favor and go watch a movie.